Hey, in this video I'll be doing an in-depth analysis for the manga of Bleach. Now, to clarify, I've read both the manga and watched the anime up to the ending of the Arankar arc, but that is where I stopped for the manga for the time being, but I am up to date with the current anime, which, when this video is releasing, will have been long ended. But as of right now, there have been 10 episodes released. So, I will be talking about both the anime and manga up to the Arankar arc, and after that, anime only. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with a basic overview of the Bleach manga and anime. Starting with the manga, the art and story is done by Tite Kubo, who did another manga for Weekly Shonen Jump 2 years before the start of Bleach, which is Zombie Powder. It is unrelated to the Bleach story, but there is one more notable work by Tite Kubo that is somewhat tied to the Bleach universe, pretty much a spin-off, which is Burn the Witch. The Bleach manga had its debut on August 7th, 2001 and ended on August 22nd, 2016, with over 130 million copies sold worldwide, making it the 13th best-selling manga of all time. The Bleach manga ended with 705 chapters, which is collected into 74 volumes. There's also 3 box sets by Viz, which collect all of the 74 volumes. You can buy them all for roughly $500. There's also Bleach 3-in-1s by Viz. As for the Bleach anime, it began serialization on October 5th, 2004, a bit over 3 years after the manga began, and the original anime stopped airing on March 27, 2012, and was on hiatus with no word from Studio Period for a decade until Bleach 1000 Year Blood War Part 1 released and began a seasonal schedule with a total of 4 total seasons planned, 3 of which, at the time this video is released, will have finished airing, with only 1 Bleach anime season remaining to wrap the story up. The anime has a total of 43% filler. The Bleach story can be categorized into 5 main story arcs, starting with the Deputy Soul Reaper saga, which has many arcs included in it. For example, the Orihime Brother arc, the Don Kanonji arc, the Grand Fish arc, among others. The next main story arc is the Soul Society, which you could also say has many arcs within it. For example, the breaking into the Soul Society / Rukongai arc, Ichigo training for Bankai arc versus Zaraki Kenpachi arc versus Byakuya arc, among many others. The next story arc is the Arankar arc, which is the longest saga in this series. I like to split this saga into 2 parts, the Hueco Mundo saga and the Raid of the World of the Living saga. In the Hueco Mundo saga, there are, once again, many arcs. For example, getting to Las Noches versus Grimjo versus Ulquiorra versus Ninth Espada, and a lot more that I just don't have enough time to mention. And in the Raid of the World of the Living saga, there is the joint captains and Vizard struggle against Aizen, Urahara, Ichigo's dad, and Yoruichi versus Aizen, Ichigo training for final Getsuga Tensho, Aizen arriving at the real Karakura town, and Aizen versus Ichigo fight part 3, and more that I won't mention. And then the next story arc is what I consider to be the only real story arc in the series, because the Substitute Soul Reaper arc really only has that. Okay, sure, you could split it up into 2 arcs, the Ichigo training for his powers back arc, and pretty much after he gets them back arc. And finally, there is the final saga, the 1000 Year Blood War, which once again can be split up into 3 parts, as far as I know. The first is the raid on the Soul Society, then the second is Ichigo's recovery and training arcs, and finally there's the second raid on the Soul Society and the Soul King Palace. Now, to be honest, for the remainder of this video, I'll be talking about the strengths and weaknesses of the anime and manga, but I've literally made 2 videos, one of which is brand new, talking about the first 2 box sets individually, and talking about each event that has happened a lot more in depth. So if you want to hear me ramble about the details of each Bleach volume and event, I will have both videos at the top of the description. So please, if you want to see more Bleach content, then go check out that. There should also be a card right up here. Anyways, moving on to some of the strengths of Bleach. The first thing that comes to mind is the sidecast. While a lot of other series, for example Naruto, really focuses on the main cast, and the sidecast suffers pretty much for them, making the main cast very well explored, while the sidecasts are close to forgotten or maybe even irrelevant. Bleach doesn't have that. Each character has some sort of backstory and their own time to shine. For example, Byakuya. He was an antagonist at the start of the Soul Society saga, but after, he was an ally after we learned Aizen was an antagonist. But most importantly, he had a backstory which gave him his time to shine, outside of just battles. Or, let's just say the Vizards. They are just a sidecast group. They nearly had 1.5 volumes completely to themselves for a backstory in the manga, and those 1.5 volumes happen to be my favorite volumes in the series from what I've read. Their backstory was very well paced and thought out. It was very intriguing and interesting, and it all made sense. The sidecasts aren't forgotten in Bleach. Now, another good thing about Bleach is the art style. First off, Tite Kubo draws color pages very well. I always love looking at the art in the volumes. Also, on the back of the volumes, there is the colored version of one of the color pages in that volume, which I really appreciate Viz for. But the art style, especially towards the later volumes, I have 2 out of the 3 box sets, so for me that's volume 48. The art style started getting good. Really good. Noticeably good. At the start, the art wasn't bad, but it definitely didn't stand out. Tita Kubo learned with time how to draw better and better. Also, I really appreciate that Tita Kubo didn't really ever have the hitting main character comedy trope like the other big three members did. Sure, at the start, it might have had that a little, but quite soon after that, it stopped using it, which I appreciate. Now, the fights. Pretty much all the fights are very good. My favorite in the manga is Ichigo versus Ukiura. That fight was insane, and the only fight in which I preferred the manga over the anime for. And for the anime, my favorite fight was probably Aizen versus Ichigo or Ichigo versus Zaraki. But since I just mentioned fights, I will start naming some bad things about Bleach. Although the fights are good, I would like less fights and more character interactions. But I know that just isn't realistic, as Bleach is a battle shonen, so I can't really complain about that. Though it's just something I would like. There really isn't much bad to say about Bleach. It's hard to think of something to say in this segment. Sure, the first saga was pretty boring, but it just took its sweet time showing us how the Bleach world works, which, in hindsight, I really appreciate. Because imagine, if we were thrown immediately into the Soul Society saga, we would have no fucking idea what was happening or why. So, a lot of people will say the first saga in Bleach is bad and boring. I can't help but somewhat disagree. Although, when watching it for the first time, I also found it to be somewhat boring, but not bad. And that's it. Please, if you want to hear me ramble on and on about Bleach, please be sure to check out the 2 videos I made about the 2 Bleach box sets, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe, as I post videos every single Monday without exceptions. And I've been doing this for the past like half a year by now, and this was episode 6 of Manga Masterclass. Next time on Manga Masterclass, I will be moving on to the next letter, which is obviously C, and the first series alphabetically that starts with the letter C is Chainsaw Man. So next time on Manga Masterclass, I will be talking about Chainsaw Man. Anyways, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you next time. Bye!